The last 2 years he finished fifth in a row. To what extent do you think that he's laid some of the foundations for Spurs' success now? But more than anything, what did you feel about him being sacked? Do you think that was grossly unfair at the time?
Yeah, well, it was, of course, a very tough time for Martin, and it was also, of course, a period that saw myself leave the club with Martin, and I think probably most looking at a situation like that where you've got a manager that's finished for 2 seasons in 5th place, then it's very tough on that manager, and I think it was very tough on him. But I do think that he has laid down some good foundations for the club, and I think what it did raise, the expectation levels of the club and the supporters. That's, if you have a club now that's capable of finishing in them areas in the league, and really pushing for a Champions League spot, qualifying for Europe, that's of course what the supporters want to see the following season and the following season there. And I think each manager since, has worked under that pressure and that expectation, and what they are certainly doing at the moment is achieving that.
One more question, Spurs. As you say, Zach Martignolle also got rid of you at that time, and then Juan Ramos came in, and it was one of the, didn't go very well, should we say. So how did you feel about all that time? Because you were pushed out for a new sort of idea from the Spurs chairman, perhaps, to bring in a foreign coach, etc. But in the end, it didn't work out. So you had mixed feelings about that? How did you feel?
Well, I think there's always mixed feelings. First and foremost, you want to remain at the club, and of course, I think once you leave a club or leave a job, there's always lots of emotions. But as we're finding out certainly far more often these days, these are the things that happen in football, and what you have to do is you have to adjust to it. The club made a decision, of course, hoping that a new manager was going to bring success to the club, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, and certainly in that circumstance it didn't. So there are lots of emotions that go through your mind, but the overriding one is that you have to get on with things. And of course what Martin was able to do was he was able to go to Hamburg and be successful there, and of course the same at Ajax.
Perfect. Right, on to Newcastle. When you first went to Newcastle as a coach, wasn't it? What did you know about the club? Did you realise the huge emotion that the passion they had for football up there? What were your impressions when you first arrived at the club?
Well, I think you most of the things that I now know I knew before. I knew how passionate the supporters were, what the club meant to the support, how local the support were, their expectations because of how perhaps the last 10 years have gone from. But I think you really have to be there to fully appreciate it. And that's what I was able to do in the period of time that I was there. A magnificent club, a very local support, and you can see what it means to the club, and of course what they want in whichever form it is, they want success as a club. You were made caretaker manager. You'd already been caretaker manager at Spurs a few times after Kevin Keegan was he left. At that point, did you have any desire to stay in the job permanently when Kevin left? How did you feel about that? Because it was a very uncertain time, wasn't it? It was a very uncertain time. What I've always said is that the most important thing for me is doing the best job that I'm doing at that present time. So management is something that I've always thought about. But I said it's not been the most important thing for me. But we went through lots of different periods, even in over a year period. I arrived at the club, and we managed to finish that season very well. Changed the formation of the team, and then some almost less than 6 months later, Kevin was gone, which is the changes. Caretaker role on a couple of occasions. Joe Kinnear, of course, came in. Going on to Alan Shearer coming in. So it's the 3 years that I've had there. I mean, I experienced perhaps more in that 3 years than some people experience in a career in coaching. And they're the ups and downs that go with the game, and all you want to do is come out well at the other end of it. But there were some very big lows in that period. Of course, getting relegated was a massive low, a massive high. Getting promoted, and of course to where we are at this present day.
After you got, there's lots of questions I can ask, but we're going forever. So probably not. After relegation, Alan Shearer sort of, he wasn't given the job. He was out of the frame. How did you feel about taking the job on again as caretaker again? Do you think here we go again? How long did you expect to be in the position?
I didn't know. It's what I had going in my favour was that you're on the training ground every day. That's where you enjoy your work. It is a very good group, and still is a very good group of lads, and a very spirited group of players. So they were the best parts. Of course, there was uncertainty, but all you could do was get on with the job in hand, and I had good players to be able to do that. But as I say, there was uncertainty at any stage in that pre-season period. Did I know I was going to get the job on a full-time basis? That the answer was no. I think as we progressed into the season and the results were going well, of course, the chances of me getting the job on a full-time basis became better and better for me, and so I'm not quite sure at what stage I realised that I had a very, very good chance of getting it, but I was very grateful when that time came.